Saw on his Twitter account, a little bit of drama, man, between him and WizK. I don't know what that all was about. I'm hoping that maybe he can shine a little bit of light onto that. But in all seriousness, we have seen from Absturge that in this tweet, yes, he's saying that he puts in the work, but we've seen it in the arena. We look at WizK and see what he's been able to do. It's been about a week on that Warlock from when I actually was in chat trying to ask them how long they've been practicing it, and they look darn good for a week.
Yeah, they looked really good, but I think this is going to be their most difficult test yet.
Yeah.
The boys, the Windwalker Death Knight that they bring really is a cut above the rest, especially when the main target, if they are locking in the Rogue Lock Druid once again with WizK on the Destruction Warlock, they're going to be having to go after Chun-Li, and I think defensively, he's one of the best Windwalker monks in the entire game. He's not going to be forgetting his portal. He's going to be able to keep himself alive, and I think if they can take him down, it's going to be a huge testament to how much they really have improved on this composition, but I don't know. I think it's unlikely.
It's one of those things, too, that, when you talk about them having it in their hands right now, their fate very much being in their own hands, Sid, they need to do well here. Otherwise, they show up next week, and it's like, okay, you've only made it onto broadcast twice this year, and you make it into the top 3 once, and now you need to win the last tournament.
The move does that literally every individual game. Plays it out to the last possible second to be able to actually pull off a victory and then manage to do it. It's basically their trademark. So I wouldn't even be surprised if that is the case, that we lead into the 6th Cup with them needing the best performance, just one more win and then managing to somehow get it, because they love just keeping everybody at the edge of their seats, and I think we might continue to see that. We've basically seen this matchup play out now in Europe. I would say that the boys bring very similar compositions to Wildcard Gaming, obviously with the Destruction Warlock economics instead of Maro on the Mage, and then the Move are a much more limited version of Method Black, because the other compositions they have right now are just simply not in the meta. So Roguelock Druid really their only answer, and we saw it play against the Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver. Wasn't too good.
I'm gonna be honest. You look at a team like the Move, and this isn't shade, but we know we have a new patch coming, and then a week recess, and then we come back for the final cup. The meta can't get worse for these guys, in my opinion. This is one of those teams that you look at and you say, okay, if the meta does shift at all, you assume that they just get better. They have worked their tookuses off to get to the point that they can even make it into the arena, even make it into Sunday. They have shown how much flexibility, how much work they're able to put in this year. And the Move, they look great, but they're going against one of the all-star teams in North America. We haven't even gotten to talk about them, but the boys, they are a wrecking ball. Will they be able to take down the Move, send them to the lower, or will the Move get to their first grand final of the year?
WizK is really going to have all of the pressure put on his shoulders. Of course, having Peekaboo to support you a tad bit will help, but ultimately it will come down to his split-second decision-making later into the match to try and burst down a kill. How is he going to navigate through all of the interrupts? We've seen Chanimal able to pull off victories out of nowhere as a result of good interrupt avoidance, but it is not an easy task to do. WizK, with limited experience on that Destruction Warlock, see if he can do it.
Yeah, Smexon getting low. Good pressure here from the Move. Gorecki already trading out his trinket. Smexon getting a little bit low. WizK looking for another Chaos Ball. Is he going to be able to find it? Does manage to do so, but a Death Strike heals up Smexon quite quickly. What is Peekaboo and WizK going to do? Pressure from Chun-Li and Smexon so far has been unrelenting, but they haven't really been able to pull out too many defensive cooldowns. Chun-Li opting into the Tiger Eye Brew specialization. That takes a little bit of time to ramp up. You can't just run in right away and get max value. You have to be attacking, spending chi in order to build up that buff that you can eventually spend to bypass the armor of WizK.
WizK has been building a lot of pressure for the team, and the boys are not responding, I would say, necessarily appropriately. They're holding on to defensive cooldowns for an extended period of time, and now the Move look to sink their teeth in. Let's see if they can find a kill here. Chun-Li still just taking a brutal beating. Gorecki gets silenced by Peekaboo as he looks to crowd control the whole team. Gorecki denies the subterfuge reconnect, denying Peekaboo from increasing the damage of his garage onto the 2 members, Chun-Li and Specs. And that was a good reaction time on the bash by Gorecki, but now a spell lock secured by WizK. Infernals still available and now have landed. Big Chaos Bolt potentially gets denied. Can WizK get enough Chaos Bolts off before the Infernals have faded? 1 Chaos Bolt connects. If he can get a 2nd Chaos Bolt, Touch of Karma, maybe they just try and bust through it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. WizK, of course, with the Nether Ward, can redirect some of that Touch of Karma damage back onto Chun-Li. Smexon seems to be the main target right now as Gorecki gets interrupted. Smexon could be in a lot of trouble, but in the meantime, WizK caught into a leg sweep. That is the Unending Resolve traded out. Absturge mana is not looking good. Gorecki and a kidney shot. Good pressure for both teams. What is Gorecki going to do? He has Barkskin up. He's trying to kite away, but Peekaboo looking to take him down. Beautiful backup by Chun-Li with a Ring of Peace. Gorecki escapes. now still has the mana lead, but he has to play catch-up in a huge way.
All right, Smexon very low. Mana even. The move are looking good, though, I think, at least aggressively. Not so much defensively. Without unending resolve, that's going to be scary for WizK, but even under the pressure that the boys are dishing out on this Windwalker DK, WizK is responding time and time again. That's what we'll credit from his Shadow Priest experience, is that he does huge damage. So you can definitely expect it here in game number 1. Chun-Li is looking like he's going to fall. Is this it for the move? The Turbo Fist barely keep Chun-Li alive. He parried all of those incoming attacks, managed to keep Peekaboo at bay just long enough to stay alive.
Grandmaster Chun-Li coming up with huge plays with that Turbo Fist in order to stay alive. Peekaboo did such a great job setting that up for the team, but now the boys have stabilized. Gorecki even potentially moving in, getting crowd control.
Oh no!
With the bash. WizK getting low. There's not much defense left. WizK's looking for the fears. Is he going to be able to find it? Gets caught into a leg sweep. Trinkets out. Touch of death rolling from Chun-Li. Extra burst damage available. Is WizK going to fall? Absurd does manage to keep him alive, but for how long?
I mean, what are they going to do? They've got Vendetta, but there's Touch of Karma. There's Icebound Fortitude. There's no openings. The move had one chance to kill, and that's now been lost. Chun-Li with perfect play, able to survive with nothing left. And I was about to say, is this the day of the move? Are they coming back? But now it's starting to slip away. They have to stay alive so much longer with basically nothing left. Gorecki's got way more mana left in the tank, looking for Cyclones. He's got Absurge pinned down behind the pillar. Paralysis. Chun-Li gets Kidney Shot. Perfect peels by Peekaboo, buying more time for the team. Curious to see if Absurge can drink. No one's there. Is nobody going to stop him from drinking? Gorecki jumps in. The Death and Decay whiffs. Absurge's got a tiny bit of mana. Potentially the move stay in it.
Yeah, Chun-Li denies WizK with the Ring of Peace. Now without that available, is missing out on some defensives. WizK caught into the stun. Bash onto Absurge. Can he get the Cyclone? Gorecki looking for it. Potentially not able to find it just yet. Now WizK looking for counter pressure once again. And the move have been doing a great job keeping the boys on their toes. Although WizK's under fire, Chun-Li and Smexon have really had to second guess their ability to push in and stay in this fight. WizK still low with no Iron Bark and no unending resolve. I think it's just a matter of time. Peekaboo flailing to keep him alive, looking for counter pressure. Lands a cheap shot onto Smexon. Icebound Fortitude trades out. Leg sweep onto WizK. Do they have the damage? They're just barely staying alive. WizK looking for a Chaos Ball, gets interrupted. Either Smexon or WizK could fall.
It's anyone's game at this point. It's down to the wire, but WizK is going to fall first. Peekaboo desperately tried to hard carry, doing everything that he could to keep it going. They were totally tapped. Down to the wire here is Dampening just engaged. The move, though, looked strong. If they just had been able to get a tiny bit more damage, Chun-Li would have gone down.
Or if you're against any monk besides Chun-Li, the monk would have just gone down there. And this is exactly what we started to hear Venruki talk about before we got into this game. This is Chun-Li. He's one of the best monks in the entire world. Such a fantastic player, and this is one of the metas where he can really be utilized. He's going to be able to just stave off a huge incoming attack, buys enough time against Peekaboo, and ultimately, that's one of the reasons that the boys were able to pull down this first win.
Yeah, that situation was super close. WizK actually reflected the Maledict trinket, and they got him to about, 5%. Peekaboo lands the Shadow Step kick onto Gorecki. I really thought, okay, Chun-Li is done for, but he does some nice moves with the Turbo Fist, with the Paralyze, gets a few heals, and he manages to weather that storm. And even here at the end, look at Gorecki's mana bar. He's completely tapped. Peekaboo going for the blind sap onto Chun-Li, trying to stall out the game. Gorecki knows he has no more mana. If we don't win here, we're gonna lose. Goes in, adds that little bit of extra damage, and again, Chun-Li really was the MVP as well. When the move was going onto Gorecki earlier in that game, his Ring of Peace was the only reason why Gorecki made it out alive. This could be a lot closer than what we thought here on the desk.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that the move has shown that they can actually go toe-to-toe with them in this series. They can create real opportunities. But you start looking at the form that the move's in now, and let's say that they do make it to LAN. And you have the boys in the Super Frogs and Method Orange. Like, all of these teams right now that are going from North America. And look, I've been a huge advocate of NA for a very long time. Usually, at least one of the teams that NA sends to a LAN is bad. And that used to be kind of something that happened. Like, compared to the EU teams, they fell off. Those top three teams were the powerhouses, and then the fourth team, they managed to get there. They didn't necessarily look as good. Maybe they were really strong on one patch, something like that. This year, I think you could take like the top 6 NA teams and they go toe-to-toe with the top 6 EU teams. I think both regions have created the best rosters. Like, everything looks like a dream roster. It's so insane how well suited all these players are to play together, and I just really want to commend every single player that has kind of figured it out this year. You know, you look at Smexon, we've brought that up before. He's one of these players that's been able to flex and fit perfectly on the boys. Gorecki, maybe the best healer in the world. He's insane. It's awesome to watch him. The Move, this is a team that, you know, maybe you criticized in the past for not being flexible enough, and now they're going toe-to-toe with a team that's dominated all year because WizK is playing a Warlock at such a high level after 1 week of practice because Sturge moved away from Shaman, which he almost won BlizzCon on. He literally got second place in BlizzCon on the Shaman. That is what he's known for. These teams are insane this year. They're absolutely insane. That's all. That's all I got to say. Like, he's yelling at you guys. He's like just so passionate about it.
Adrian, help, man.
Hey, all right.
I wanted to hear from the European.
No, I do feel like it's important to say when you kind of talk about EU and NA in the past, I think the biggest strength of EU, was, yes, all of the top teams, they're top teams. Like, there's no question about that. The top team from any region really could a lot of the times compete against the other top team from the region. But EU's depth of teams that were on that top level was always so much bigger than any other region. Like, you could take, like, the top, it was like you could always take the top 6 EU teams, and they would be, like, there was, like, 1, 2 NA teams that could go toe-to-toe with them. And I feel like that has changed a lot this year, Zeke.
Absolutely. Well, in the past, I always used to say that the best EU teams and the best NA teams, they were very evenly matched, and it came down to things like comp and, you know, just individual mistakes on that day. But in general, I would say that the EU usually had more good teams. So if EU had, let's say, 5 really, really good teams, NA would have 2, but those 2 could tangle with the best 2 from EU. But then, like you already mentioned, the gap seems to be more even now in terms of actually how many good teams NA have. Before, like last year, I would argue that it was Method Orange and it was the Move. They were the top dogs here. And towards the end of it, Super Frogs as well really came into that discussion. But from EU, there was like 5 teams that were on that level. And that's why EU also sent way more teams to BlizzCon. But once we were at BlizzCon, the NA teams, they looked super strong. So now it's going to be a different story. You got the boys, you got Super Frogs, Method Orange, the Move, you know, just to mention a few off the top of my head. So definitely looks like a strong year here for NA, and I'm excited to see what spring finals are going to look like as well.
Yeah, it gets international very quickly. It's funny, though, because the Super Frogs were kind of that team where a lot of us were saying they had the potential to be the best team in North America, and it took a little while for it to happen, but now it definitely is the case. The boys, on the other hand, this is a roster that just couldn't even have been in your mind, and this is really one of the rosters that is the catalyst for NA, having all these players move all over the place. You just see a powerhouse team come together. They gel very quickly. The boys now trying to take down the Move with 1 in their back pocket.
All right, WizK and Peekaboo pulling the trigger on big power cooldowns early on, trying to catch Chun-Li off guard, but immediate reaction. Chun-Li starts to stabilize, and now they look to counter-aggress. Maybe not stabilize. Is Touch of Karma not going to be enough for Chun-Li? Have they managed to crack it? Chun-Li so low on health. Overwhelming pressure right now from the Move as Chun-Li flounders and is looking like it's going to fall.
No way!
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?
Chun-Li somehow survives at 1% health, and the Move is in complete disbelief. 1% health, really? Gorecki manages to keep him alive, and now Chun-Li pushing in, looking to take down WizK. What did the Move commit there, though? Defensively, they still have a lot to work with. He could have traded out so much in order to try to take Chun-Li down, but they managed to get through every single defensive cooldown. If the Move can make another push like that, it might be able to take Chun-Li down.
They've still got Dark Soul in the back pocket. Potentially WizK can chunk through and find a kill with that. He's going to go for a Chaos Bolt, get one onto Smexon. Not really the best target there, as Death Strike is going to be quite easy for Smexon to recover. Now Kidney Shot on Chun-Li. Chaos Bolt being casted, gets it off, huge damage. Gorecki needs to respond. How is he going to exchange cooldowns here? That's the Dark Soul. We would typically see an anti-magic zone from a Death Knight here in exchange. Smexon isn't making the trade, though. Instead, trying to counter-aggress and push them over with both Peekaboo and WizK under fire. Pressure is on.
Yeah, Smexon into Kidney Shot. Could be in some trouble. WizK looking for a Chaos Bolt, but Goreki's mana is not looking good. He had to use a lot of mana to keep Chun-Li and Smexen in the fight, and I have to say the move is really impressing me with the amount of pressure they are able to put out in this matchup so far. Chun-Li and Smexen playing a little bit scared. You're going to have to be careful. Now we do a full kidney shot. Chun-Li could potentially just fall if there's any damage. Oh, Mortal Coil onto Goreki. Is Chun-Li going to be able to survive? He trades out Touch of Karma, and that's one of the benefits of being a Windwalker monk. A lot of your defensive cooldowns have a really short cooldown, so you can easily trade them out consistently in fights like this.
Peekaboo's got Vendetta. I've never seen this much damage from a team. He gets a Hibernate though. Nice play by Goreki, catching Absterge off guard. Now Whiskey on the back foot. They had overwhelming pressure, a massive lead, but now Goreki is starting to swing it in his team's favor with a perfect crowd control chain on Absterge. Whiskey is starting to fall low. Unending Resolve exchanges. Overlap now with the Iron Bark. The defense is starting to crack. Peekaboo's got one more point to try and pierce through and find a kill with that Vendetta. In the meantime, Goreki sits down for a drink, regenerates a bit of mana, but not too much. Peekaboo still has an opportunity to go for a kill. Kidney shot, Vendetta, everything on Peekaboo.
Yeah, Whiskey looking for a Chaos Bolt, unable to find it. If Whiskey can land these Chaos Bolts, it's going to be so massive for them to actually take down Chun-Li, but the interrupts from Smexen and Chun-Li have been really, really good in this match so far. Goreki triggering out of a blind. Vendetta rolling for Peekaboo as he's looking to take down Smexen, I believe. Touch of Death up for Chun-Li. WizK without Unending Resolve could be in some trouble. Full Cyclone secured by Goreki as he pushes in, trying to close out this game, but there's just no damage on WizK.
Yep, no damage whatsoever. And look, Infernals, Dark Soul. WizK's gonna drop both of those. He's got a couple seconds to get a kill. How is Chun-Li gonna respond? Anti-magic zone. Fair exchange here for Smex and high value. WizK gates out of its protection, but then grip back into it. WizK still under fire. After, will Iron Bark be enough? We're not even into dampening at this point. Both Druids basically tapped. WizK still just completely getting smashed. They stabilize. They drop a smoke bomb. 1 second away from Chun-Li being able to live, but it's not going to happen. The moves stay in this tournament, and they look like an entirely different animal today.
Wow. I mean, the beast that they look like is the old move, right? The old move would come out, yeah, WizK was going to be most likely on that Shadow Priest, but they would come out quick, they would come out heavy, and they would potentially get that very early win. This time around, they almost get that on Chun-Li. Maybe a few things change. Maybe use Dark Soul in the open or something like that. Maybe they're able to take him down there, but any other team completely would have crumbled under the pressure, and then they stay alive long enough to find another go. That's the move, baby.
That's the move. And the move after that opener, they must have felt so disencouraged, but they kept cool, they kept collected, and WizK, of course, surviving this storm here, and Chun-Li actually disrespecting the damage here from those Infernals. No human racial are going to... Actually, he gets stunned on his human racial there. Peekaboo coming in with a clutch sheep shot there towards the end to close that one out.
It's just fantastic stuff, and you know, it takes the move a little while to get these new comps together, but now that we see them, Sid, what do you think their chances are of making it all the way to land?
I mean, it's looking pretty good. The thing with Goreki's team right now is that it's the Mistweaver healer with the Death Knight and the Windwalker that we've seen be so dominant, and in this position he's still sticking on to the Druid. And I'm wondering if he's really losing out on something significant there, because when we saw Kolo switch from Mistweaver to Druid, it just became a really slow game, but they would almost always lose. So I'm not sure if the Druid is necessarily the best healer in this composition matchup. So potentially we see Goreki switch off.
Yep, I think one of the things with Goreki is one of the reasons he's so great on the Druid is because of how quickly he mastered that Master Shapeshifter and that Feral Affinity, and how much pressure he was able to get out to his team, how much control. The question is whether or not, if that's the best tool in this matchup, we're going to find out after this. We are all tied up in this series. The move has shown us that they definitely hit that drawing board and they figured out somewhat of an answer. It's not free by any means. We've seen Chun-Li fight off quite a few of those pushes, an absolute live lord, but the question is the move going to be able to move on forward? Are we going to see this powerhouse squad just get another grand final to their name?
You should have said move on up.
What do you think the move's going to be able to do here?
I think the move is going to be able to move on up.
I definitely think that is a pretty accurate thing here.
I think it's good. Sorry to cut you off. I think Gorecki on the Resto Druid, he's a phenomenal player, but in this particular matchup, not the move. So definitely more ideal for him to go on the Mistweaver Monk, even if he's not as well practiced on it. We did see him bring it out when they were playing Arms Warrior Windwalker Mistweaver. So I know this is something that they have practiced. I've ran into them on ladder multiple times. So Gorecki on the Mistweaver Monk, I think is going to provide a lot more defense for his team. The short cooldown with the Life Cocoon as well. When you fall behind, you can make that push with the Way of the Crane. It's extra damage as well as a free top off for your team.
Honestly, now when we've been looking at Monk as a healer, Sid, it's starting to take the cake in a lot of ways. It's starting to pull ahead in a lot of scenarios over the Druid.
Yeah, that's why I thought Gorecki would make this change. So now it comes down to, can he perform, right? Because this composition, I think, on paper is superior in this matchup versus Roguelock Druid, but now you have to play it. So you can't just simply walk into the arena, as you pointed out in the earlier series when I was suggesting Destruction Warlock. It's not that easy. You don't just walk in and win, but Gorecki is a phenomenal healer. He has multi-classed in the past, although we have not seen a lot of Mistweaver from him, so this will be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of teams that knew what the exact answer is, even inside of this weekend, but then when they do try to implement it, the practice isn't necessarily there, and that's one of the reasons that we've been commending the move, right? This is a huge change from them. Peekaboo is the only one who's completely comfortable where he's hanging out, the only person who's really at home on his main, but the move has been able to make it work. They have been able to implement it, but the boys with a very good change up here might have enough extra defense to really push those Chaos Bolts away.
Yeah, in the last game, we saw the move generate pressure from start to finish. Will they be able to do it once again? Gorecki, actually, he got blinded. What happened? I think the Fell Hunter hit him. Oh, that's a disaster. WizK broke the blind with his Fell Hunter onto Gorecki. That is a nightmare start for the move. Not really going to be able to get too much pressure as Gorecki's not going to be put in any crowd control.
Big yikes early on for the move. That was an important crowd control. Now whiffed as Peekaboo tries to carry, catching Chun-Li in a smoke bomb. They're under-responding, disrespecting, and now have to overextend their defensive lineup. Mistakes on both sides, and the moves stay in the game thanks to Peekaboo.
Yep, Gorecki, he trinkets out of the kidney shot, but he has the Way of the Crane rolling. He does manage to top off the entire team. Huge pressure now onto WizK. What is Absurge going to do? Unending Resolve, Nether Ward, everything's been traded out by the move. If they can continue this pressure, WizK could easily fall. Peekaboo trying to counter pressure the best he can with the Vendetta rolling onto Chun-Li. And Gorecki, you can look at his defensive cooldowns. There's not much left to work with.
If he gets crowd controlled or spell locked, Chun-Li's gonna die. They have to abort the mission. Absurge moves in, secures crowd control to close the game out. They're gonna do it! No way! Move advanced to match point.
And this was one of those series where it seems like a big mistake comes in. How are they able to bounce back there, Zico? I think one of the first calls is that we see the Infernals just break a huge CC.
Peekaboo's insane.
Peekaboo is insane, but Peekaboo is insane.
You don't need a butt.
What are you gonna say?
You don't need a butt.
They underresponded to the smoke bomb. I have to say it. The European part of my brain says that, but Peekaboo is also just a god.
Okay.
I
mean,
but
sure.
Peekaboo creates that situation, maybe a bit of an under-response on the side of the boys. Let's take a look and maybe see just what that smoke bomb could get done.
Right. So, this is the smoke bomb attempt right there. Infernals, Chaos Bolt, Kidney Shot, Chun-Li, Trinket. Come on, bro. Trinket, there it is. Way too late. Gonna have to use Cocoon. Gonna have to use Way of the Crane. Gonna have to use everything here. Then, some fears are coming in. You know, we're trying to stabilize the team here. Absurge and Peekaboo caught up in that leg sweep. WizK, Unending Resolve. Gonna respond by just having one member of the team use his cooldowns. Absurge gonna sit through that crowd control since WizK used his defensives. And at this point, WizK is gonna get a nice Cataclysm. The Infernals have ramped up. He still has the Dark Soul to work with here. And then He fake casts a kick, 1 Chaos Bolt, 2 Chaos Bolts. Chun-Li dips, but Whiskey with the Maledict snipe. And then, of course, Gorecki. Actually, when did Gorecki trinket? He gets bashed up there, and Peekaboo with a beautiful Shadow Step as well follows that up.
It was when he ran into the smoke bomb. So when he ran into the smoke bomb, he managed to connect the Life Cocoon, but he got kidney shot on his way to the crane. So panic mode ensued, and that's when they literally got everything.
Okay, I mean, now we're in the area with the pressure that we've seen the move get out. It seems like they should be able to win one more. I'm curious what we see the boys do here, Sid.
Well, I wasn't expecting this. I thought the move were going to be struggling, but they're making it look easy against the boys here today. 1 win away from advancing to the grand finals. We have not seen a performance like this from them in quite some time, and it's off the back of them moving away from their kind of home story cup kind of compositions with the Shadow Priest, Rogue, getting off of that, and then going on to something that's more standard in the current meta. Although I would say still disadvantaged in this matchup in particular, but somehow overcoming that, ending games faster than we've really ever seen games end. So I don't know, maybe the move are just on a roll today, but they're looking solid to secure a position in the qualifications.
Ooh. Okay, never mind. I thought that the boys locked in a Destruction Warlock, but what I was going to say is the way this matchup plays out is it feels like, from observing it, that the Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver composition should win, but there is a lot of opportunity for this Roguelock Druid to really punish mistakes. If you make a mistake, if you overlap defensive cooldowns, it is nightmare time, and the move has been able to capitalize on those mistakes coming in from the boys, overlapping way too many defensive cooldowns. And if that happens, a team like the move with Peekaboo, Whiskey, and Absurge are going to be able to easily punish, and that's what we're seeing in these last couple games.
Yeah, and Gorecki's going to respond by maybe getting more comfortable and going back to the Druid. I will say that one of my favorite things about what the move is doing here, Z, is the fact that they have conformed to the meta, right? Like, they've found a composition that is going to work in the current meta, but it also very much fits their play style. Like, they are a team that likes to create pressure and force another team to make mistakes. That's what we saw from them all last year, and now they found a way to do that in this meta, which also isn't something that really is super meta right now. A lot of that the meta is going to come down to a lot of attrition. There's a lot of attrition, setting up certain scenarios over time, going into late dampening and finding a way with compositions that have a lot of self-healing and things like that. And the move, they just say, this is how we like to play the game. How can we do it in the meta? And they're doing just that.
Yeah, and you took the words right out of my mouth. The move, they play the comp, not necessarily the way we've seen it from most of the other teams, but they play it very, very aggressively. They look to get those big kill setups. They look to line up those Chaos Bolts with the kidney shots and just try to go for big bursts, not really focusing on the overall picture as much, but instead trying to force out individual mistakes. And Chun-Li's definitely feeling the pressure because it just looks like the move they could just be going to the grand finals here.
If they're going to the grand finals too, that guarantees them 100 points this week. The amount that can get done for them to make it to that first final, which you heard from Sturge, is one of their big goals. They fell short last year. They don't want to do it again. It took them a while to figure out how this meta works. Have they cracked the code? They need to take down Hook Point, and they'll be going straight to the grand finals.
A lot is on the line for the move if they want to make it to the first international LAN event at the spring finals for the Arena World Championship Series. They missed out on it last year, and they're looking to correct that mistake, but it's coming down to the last couple of tournaments to do so. Today appears to be their day. Can they overwhelm the boys, advance to the grand finals? Their best performance this year. Absurge in a good position, far away from the fight. Definitely keeping it calm, cool, and collected. Peekaboo's trying to lead the charge for his team, but Whiskey is under huge pressure.
Yeah, definitely, but still has managed to hold on to that unending resolve. Infernals get dropped out. This is where we see the move start generating a lot of pressure, and the boys, they respond completely differently. They are just hightailing it out of there. Chun-Li behind the pillar, Smexin behind the pillar. Peekaboo says, no way, you're not escaping. Kidney shot, smoke bomb, but I think Chun-Li will ultimately be able to survive. In terms of mana, Gorecki a little bit behind at this point, but I think on the smaller map, it will be difficult for Absurge or Gorecki to sneak away for drinks.
All right, let's see. It's going to be really quick, I think, this game on Hook Point. Whiskey just getting bursted. Tons of damage from the team of the boys, really keeping Whiskey on his toes. Can the move do it? They just need one more win, and they're in the grand final. Can they keep it together? Peekaboo doesn't really have much potential right now without Vendetta or Smoke Bomb. it's going to be difficult for him to be the playmaker. Really relying on Absterge right now to stall the game out for Peekaboo to have those abilities to then set the team up for victory. Also relying on WizK to generate pressure for Peekaboo to play off of. All three members playing a pivotal role in finding victory. Absterge jumps in but gets clotheslined. Grecky then jumps to safety. Good reaction time on Grecky's part.
Yeah, Chun-Li portals away to safety. He does not want to fall again. Fool Chun-Li once, maybe twice, but the third time I feel like now Chun-Li is going to be playing really defensive in this matchup. If he's ever scared, if Grecky's ever in crowd control, he's just going to be portaling away, as we've always seen the Windwalker monks go down in these matchups. And I think if you do rotate properly, you play appropriately and run when you're really scared, I think the Windwalker monk should be able to survive, and that's really when we're going to see the advantage for the boys.
All right, double Mortal Coil, good combo. Chaos Bolt doesn't connect though. WizK, he's not able to get it off. He's desperately trying to pull a Touch of Karma, but he's not finding it, and that's putting them behind. This is starting, at least momentum-wise, in favor of the boys. Mana-wise, it's still surprisingly in favor of the move. Evenly fought. Chun-Li needs to be careful. Very low on health. Almost not exchanging that Touch of Karma in time to survive. Smexon is taking a beating as well down at half health. Grecky has to recover 2 members of the team. Now caught in a blind, and Peekaboo's got that vendetta. He's ready to make the move.
I don't mean to roast every single Windwalker in this tournament, but Chun-Li messed up his Transcendence. It's just a nightmare because he had to trade out his Touch of Karma because of it. Definitely not ideal, and we really need to see that cleaned up for Chun-Li. We normally do see it play out quite nicely, but making those mistakes there are the things that the move is going to be able to capitalize on in this matchup.
All right, Chun-Li getting set up on Absterge, trying to get the team some victory here. A bash into a fear. The crowd control chain looks good. Chun-Li, though, retreating away. Peekaboo unable to connect and carry, but it gets a sap out of the fear. This is it. If there was a chance for the move to make it to the grand final, they got a couple more seconds. Chun-Li's Turbo Fist deny Peekaboo's attacks. WizK's trying to get more crowd control to buy enough time to kill Chun-Li. Chun-Li tries to kite. Peekaboo just waddling his way over to connect. Kidney shot. Iron Bark needs to be enough. Mana evening out, and it's anyone's game here, but the move are on match point.
Definitely a scary moment for both of these teams. Grecky, Absterge, their mana's not looking good. Both of them are already trading out Innervate. WizK drops out the Infernals. Smexon a vulnerable target here. Double leg sweep coming in from Chun-Li. They're trying to take down WizK. No unending resolve, no Iron Bark, no nothing. The boys, they only need one final push in this matchup, potentially take WizK down, but there's still a lot of pressure here from the move. Chun-Li forced to trade out the Touch of Karma. What is he gonna do?
All right, let's see. Both teams are basically out of defensive cooldowns at this point. Mana, I believe, is still even. Grecky gets crowd control. The chain is engaging for the boys to find victory, but Chun-Li's running away. Why is Chun-Li running away when Absterge is crowd controlled? Maybe he was trying to avoid an attack, but that was an opportunity to push for a kill. Mana's totally even as we just step foot into dampening here shortly. Chun-Li and Smexon are getting pressured down. WizK's trying to fake cast some interrupts, baiting it on the fears. The fears set up Chaos Bolts. Turbo Fist denies Peekaboo's attacks. Absterge needs to keep the team alive for at least 30 more seconds if they want to find victory. Grecky needs to keep his team alive for at least another minute. I would say that the move are looking likely to take this. Chun-Li gets stun locked. Will he fall? Grecky tries to jump into the fight, tossing out a couple heals, stabilizes with Iron Bark. WizK now on the back foot. Absterge equally responds. The move still have the mana lead. They blind up Chun-Li defensively. A bit of desperation from the move to hold on, and I'm not sure if just surviving will be enough.
Yeah, both druids almost completely tapped on mana. Grecky gets interrupted. WizK is the one that could fall. Good pressure still coming in from Peekaboo on all 3 members. Grecky's gonna have to play catch up. WizK looking for a Chaos Bolt. Fakes it out. What is WizK going to do? Chun-Li, Smexon retreating. This is not the position you want to be in as the Windwalker Death Knight. You can't be running away when Absterge is completely tapped on mana. WizK, though, with the Dark Soul getting out a lot of pressure. Chun-Li has to hold on for another second. Touch of Karma now available. Traded out instantaneously. Can they use that to get enough momentum to take WizK down?
WizK has nothing left to survive. Absterge has no mana left, and I think it's looking like the boys are going to take this. Peekaboo tries to take the game into his own hands and try and close it out. Kidney shot into fear. Crowd control is good, but the pressure is overwhelming. WizK will fall, and we're going to game 5.
Oh man, that was filthy. They shut down WizK too right as that unending resolve came off cooldown, but he didn't really have enough health to work with anyway. The boys trying to take this all the way to a game 5, trying to keep their throne and make it to the grand final.
Beautifully done there by the boys. Chun-Li porting away there, allowing himself to be out of line of sight. If he got caught up in that kidney shot at the end there, WizK would have taken him down for sure. Smexon Nice anti-magic zone, allows that touch of karma to come back up, and allows them to sustain. And that's the kidney shot I'm talking about. Right there, if Chun-Li gets caught up in Whiskey's line, you can see the Dark Soul is active, the Vendetta is active, big trouble. And nice Ring of Peace as well. He's gonna knock Whiskey into Chun-Li's melee range, and then of course they're gonna be able to reverse the pressure. Touch of karma comes off cooldown, immediately gets dropped just in case, and then from this point forward, both heroes are out of mana. Gurecki still has the Iron Bark to work with as well, just in case, and Peekaboo tries to shut that down because Smexin still has his Icebound Fortitude. No point kidney shotting him. Good awareness again from Peekaboo, and it's not going to be enough though.
Late in this season, they have figured it out. They have cracked the code, and now they're going toe-to-toe with one of the top dogs. They want to get to their first grand final of the year. Keep in mind, right now, they are 8 points behind if they lose here of Never Lucky to going to the LAN. Obviously, there is one more cup, but if they can win this, just win this one more game, they take number 4 from NA, and coming out of week number 5, they would be going to the LAN. Can the move get that done?
All right, here we go. It's game number 5. Can the move manage to secure a spot to qualify to the spring finals? They've got the best chance that they've ever had so far this year here today against the boys, but obviously the boys are not going to make it easy as it's coming down to one final match here on Tiger's Peak. Peekaboo holding on to Vendetta this time around, not leading the charge for his team. I think it's important for Peekaboo to be the last member to commit aggressive cooldowns. He's the one with all the setup. Allow WizK to be the intimidating factor and scare the opponents into using cooldowns, and then Peekaboo can push through and find the kill. That's what worked for them in their wins, unlike they're on hook point. Here early on, we already see a mana lead establishing for the boys, and that is not good for the move.
Definitely not. Gurecki with no trinket, vulnerable to crowd control. If Absurge ever decides to push in, land a Bash Cyclone, but Absurge playing passive, looking for a drink. Gurecki shuts it down with a Vortex. Absurge just sitting down for a drink once again. He wants to really pressure Gurecki into forcing that shutdown. Now Gurecki landing a full Cyclone. WizK could be in a lot of trouble. Absurge wasted a lot of time. Down to crowd control, into the Bash, forced to trade out the trinket. And WizK, as a result, has to trade out the Unending Resolve. And if you look, the move, they don't have any defense left.
They've basically cracked the move's wall. Mana now in favor of the boys, and I don't know what this is, if the boys were just taking a nap earlier in the series and now they've woken up, but their damage is much higher and really putting the pressure on the move here. If you're the move, you want to avoid that lower bracket. You don't want to go head-to-head with the Super Frogs, or at least you want to stall it out and at least guarantee a second-place finish. They desperately want to qualify for that spring finals. They've got a couple seconds to take out Chun-Li. They're going for it. They get denied. Touch of Karma. Now they have to bust through that. They may be able to do so with a Nether Ward on it, although now recovered. Mana's evening out. Iron Bark will stabilize. Gurecki still has that in his pocket. Mana is equal, but cooldowns are in favor of the boys.
Neither of these teams have found a moment to drink. Gurecki now in Stouts. What is he doing? Is he going to be able to regenerate some mana? That'll give the boys a huge lead. But no, Gurecki moving in cat form, that Feral Affinity, getting the pounce stun onto WizK. Still a lot of pressure here for the boys. Absurge has not been able to stop healing WizK this entire game, never being able to get the luxury of actually sneaking away and regenerating some of his mana. WizK still under fire, no Unending Resolve for another 1 minute and 42 seconds. It's a big opportunity, a big window for the boys to push through, especially with Chun-Li's Touch of Death rolling up in around 24 seconds.
WizK gets denied again by Smexin. Both teams basically running on fumes this early on. Everything is going to come down to split-second decision-making. Absurge is crowd controlled first. WizK is being pressured, but Peekaboo has an opportunity to punch back. Desperation Blind to stall and maybe get some mana in the tank, or at least get some cooldowns, but now Blind not available for Gurecki. He's going to have free reign in this game, and he's going to jump right on top of Absurge, look for some crowd control, securing the Cyclone and potentially the series. WizK is still low, desperately trying to gate to safety, but Smexin grips him back into his clutches. Perfect chain executed by Gurecki. WizK barely holding on, and how much longer? Double Mortal Coil, but the Maledict is absorbing so much healing. Multiple incoming, and Absurge has nothing left to keep him going, and WizK is going down. The move will have to face the Super Frogs in the lower bracket, but the boys dodged a bullet.
The boys certainly did. They get another grand final.